This is the first time I'm going to be telling my story. 53 years ago, it was my war. And most veterans in here, we all had our own wars. But I think our future generations need to know that freedom was fought for and paid for by veterans. And my story might be a little different than some of yours, but I consider every veteran in here my brother and sister. And thank you for serving. I have a medical condition. My eyes start sweating sometimes. I never cry, but if you see my eyes sweating, you'll know that that's that medical condition I was telling you about. I got to talk about my blessings first. First to our Lord for watching over me, even though He knows all my faults and sins, and that's saying something. Next, my wife, Mary Ann. We're working on 57 years. She does most of the work in the family. And except for her patience and love and understanding, I stand before you. Yes, ma'am. Okay. My daughter Angie's here. Raise your hand, Angie. She's going to love that. I have two daughters. Angie's here tonight with my granddaughter, Rachel, who's taller than I am now. My second daughter, Sarah, and the three grandkids and two great-grandchildren are all in Texas and couldn't make it tonight. Their dad was promoted to lieutenant colonel. He's an Army combat engineer, and I guarantee you, don't let him do your fireworks on 4th of July because he'll blow shit up. Remember, he did on the farm. My dear friend Roland Kronk, 44 years we've been friends. Drove down here from Boone, Iowa. Well, I don't know why you did that, Roland, but God bless you for coming down. It's good to see you. You can check with Roland later. He's got some scoop on me if you really want to listen to it. I recognize a lot of Marines here. Colonel, Sergeant Major. I mean, every place I look around, and I'm honored that they include me as a corpsman into their cadre. Thank you. And not to put him on the spot, I'm not going to ask him to be recognized. Last month's F.I.S.H talk. Some of you may or may not know that I'm being worked up for a kidney transplant. I'm in kidney failure. And I had a young Marine and his wife walk up to me, or Army, I'm sorry, gosh, everything's a Marine to me tonight, and offered to give me a kidney if it would work out as a donor. Talk about blessings. I tell you, I was blown away. There goes my medical condition a little bit. God bless him. Paul, Chappa, Tree, Bull, all the F.I.S.H volunteers. I've come to land in a place that's friendly to veterans. I give $11 every month to Tunnels to Towers. And God bless all the veteran support organizations that support post 9/11 veterans. But damn it, the Vietnam veteran and the Korean veteran and the World War II veterans are forgotten again most of the time. F.I.S.H doesn't do that. F.I.S.H includes veterans from all services, from all time in service. And God bless you, Paul, for doing that. Sean Wynn, where are you at? Where's Sean? Stand up, Sean. You're not going to like this. Sean is a minister, a filmmaker, and he's turned out to be quite the friend. He archives veteran stories on patriotfeatures.com, and I'm doing a little plug for him. It's very important that veterans tell their stories. Every veteran has a story. And I was talking to Roland earlier. You know, he served same time I did, but he used to say, "But I wasn't in Vietnam." So what? You know, I don't care. I didn't see any Viet Cong attacking Oklahoma where you were stationed at the time. Thank you for your service. I think, but anyway, Sean does just magnificent work, and through his lens, I'm going to tell a partial story of my time in Vietnam, 1968 Tet Offensive, January 21st at Hue, Vietnam. And I'm going to let Sean speak for me through his lens right now. Paul?
War wasn't fought really for the flag or for apple pie or mom. It was protecting your buddy to the left and the right and watching the six of the guy in front of you. And I was proud to serve with. Born March 7, 1946. Grew up in Japan, came back, graduated 1964, Salina, Kansas. Went on to Kansas State Teachers College, and from there enlisted in the Navy. Even in college, Vietnam was on the news every night, and I was raised in a military family, and realized that the war was going on. I put the college behind me and enlisted in 1966 and had no idea I was going to end up as a corpsman. They test you, you know, when you go to boot camp for your MOS or, you know, what your job description is going to be. And I had worked in a hospital, you know, as an orderly as a teenager, and they decided I'd make a good corpsman, and they needed corpsmen pretty bad. Boot camp. San Diego Naval Training Center, and following boot camp, went to Corps School, Balboa Naval Hospital. Became a corpsman, and then on to Marine Brainwashing School called FMF, Training for Corpsmen, Camp Pendleton, where we threw grenades and pretended like we were Marines. And I married my high school sweetheart, Mary Ann, January 15, 1966. So 1967, I finished all my training, got a 30-day leave, and off to Vietnam. Flew into Da Nang and was mustered into the 1st Marine Regiment that was based in Da Nang. The operations in Da Nang were search and destroy. It was pretty much, we were fighting the VC there. There was no uniformed NVA. And so it was a war of booby traps and ambushes, and they would hit and run, and we'd just walk around in the jungle looking for them. I operated in the I-Corps area of Da Nang up until we moved to Phu Bai just before Tet, 1968.
The Viet Cong simultaneously attacked just about every major city and town in South Vietnam. In one day, they increased the scope of the war dramatically.
Tet, 1968, January 31, Lunar New Year celebration for Vietnam. The North Vietnamese pretty much attacked all of Vietnam, from Saigon in the south to the I-Corps area where I was. And I asked the Sergeant Major at the time when he woke us up, you know, that day, what's the deal going to this, up the road to a place called Hue? He said, oh, we'll be back by lunch. It's no big deal. We're just going to help the Army out at the MAC-B compound.
At Hue, the old imperial capital, 400 miles to the north, the Viet Cong is holding on to part of the town. as well as half the city of Khartoum in the central highlands. Along the northern...
I was tasked with going with that first company to set up a triage and treatment center at the MACV compound. When I got there, it was just chaos. There was at least 40 or plus wounded. They thought we were there to rescue them. We were a company of, there was probably 160 Marines, and at the time, we didn't realize that over 10,000 NVA had snuck in from the highlands. And Hue was the imperial city, the cultural center of South Vietnam. And Hue was a big deal to North Vietnam.
How are we doing on rounds?
I remember hearing a radio communication back to Phu Bai to our regimental commander that we are outmanned and outgunned. And what followed was 24 days of intense fighting. Never let up. One of the bloodiest battles of the Vietnam War. I think it was 215 killed, on our side, and over 1,500 wounded. I would go from the MACV compound where I set up a triage and a surgical unit with our regimental corpsman, Dr. James Beck, and I'd go out and help bring wounded back to the MACV compound. In Hue, it was uniformed, trained North Vietnamese Army, and it was a culture shock to us. Out of the jungle into an urban environment, we had no training, no clue, and it was a scary, scary time. I was awarded the Silver Star and Purple Heart. I was tended to a Marine, had a chest wound, had bandaged him up, and heard a click, turned around, and here's a uniformed NVA with a P-40 like a bazooka on his shoulder. And I heard the click of him getting ready to fire. I have to be honest with you, I was more shocked at the sight of a uniformed enemy than I was that rocket he had on his shoulder. But I threw myself on the Marine, he shot the rocket, missed us, hit the wall, and of course shrapnel everywhere. So I jumped up, he was reloading, and I had my .45, and I always thought I was a pretty good shot with the pistol. I think I emptied my .45, and it was the next to the last round that finally got him. And when I was standing over that guy, I thought I'd pissed my pants. And what had happened is my boots filled with blood, from all the shrapnel, on my back and legs. I carried that Marine back to a mule and drove back to the MACV compound. And Dr. Back took out big pieces of shrapnel that he could find and patched me up, and I never left. It's an old adage. I walked beside heroes, but I wasn't one. And there's truth to that. I don't know how many. There was at least 3 or 4 Medal of Honors, and I don't know how many Navy Crosses and Silver Stars, and from the guys that fought that battle. Hue was a turning point in the history of our country, in that the debate on how do we win the war turned into how do we get out. After we took back the city, we being the Marines, our mission was to relieve the 26 Marines at Khe Sanh. They lived underground. When we relieved them, I inherited an underground nest, that I could sleep in, because we took rounds all the time. At Khe Sanh, it was time for me to go on R&R and meet Marianne in Hawaii. During that ride, the tail gunner took his helmet off and was sitting on it. And I thought, what the hell is he doing? And then I noticed these holes appearing in the floor of the Huey. So I took my helmet off immediately and sat on it. Anyway, we were shot down. and landed in a river. You know, I went and checked the pilot and the co-pilot. The co-pilot was dead. The pilot was breathing, and as I put him back in his chair, he exsanguinated out of a neck wound. Found a SAR radio on the pilot's vest and turned it on, and it was less than 10 minutes. There was a Jolly Green Giant there to rescue us, and that was on my way to meet Marianne in Hawaii. Right after R&R, I came back to Da Nang and hooked back up at Khe Sanh, and we left Khe Sanh back to the Da Nang area and search and destroy missions. And I was in Da Nang for the rest of my tour. I came home towards the end of '68 and was assigned as a search and rescue corpsman at War Naval Air Station in California. Until December of '69, I got a 3-month early out to go to school. Serving my country was an obligation I felt. The honor of serving was because I worked with Marines. After I came back from Vietnam, Marianne and I, by that time, had been married a number of years and wanted kids and didn't have any. And while working at a Catholic hospital, St. Joseph in Wichita, Kansas, the nuns knew we wanted a kid, and they showed up one morning with a little 10-month-old little girl, and that's Angie, our oldest child. During PA school, my wife had some indigestion problems, went to the doctor, and he told her she was pregnant. She told him, I can't be because I can't get pregnant. And Sarah was conceived, our youngest. 2 daughters, 3 grandchildren, 3 great-grandchildren, and the blessings of a family. Today I don't consider myself a sailor or a Marine. I'm a Fleet Marine Force corpsman, which is a brotherhood that I was privileged to have. Having my Marines accept me 100% into their brotherhood was the greatest honor I ever had. Yeah.